Hello and welcome. Bienvenidos a todos. Guys, it is un poco mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more special weekend holiday edition. Hope everyone had just a wonderful Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble. There's a lot to be thankful for. Stock market making a speedy recovery, and if you keep things in perspective, guys, which I know most of you don't because you're tiny weighing alarmists with small portfolios, even shorter attention spans, and all the rest of the platitudes I like to zing your way. But seriously, folks, the market came off of like what in April it was, I don't know what it was, 16,000, at least NASDAQ or whatever, and then popped up to 24.4 or something, and then this massive correction down to 22 was merely a little, 10% can of corn, little speed bump there, nothing more, and then just a zippy V-shaped recovery that everyone said wasn't going to come. Now, of course, if you got all your money invested in, Bitmine International and cryptos and stuff, you definitely have taken a big haircut. In some cases, you've been chopped off at the knees, but I would contend there's still a hell of a lot of opportunity in the market, a lot of stocks that are just completely mispriced, misunderstood, and even worse, even more evil, even more nefarious. The big short, tiny wing mafia is out in full force. It's dangerous, when you have a tiny wing, every problem looks like a hammer or a nail or, in fact, another flaccid tiny wing. But be that as it may, guys, I think one of the opportunities that's just, mispriced, misunderstood is IOVA, Iovance Biotherapeutics or something. Looks like there's four people. I didn't really expect very many people to watch this show live. Obviously, everyone on the East Coast is asleep, but this is just when I could, pull my mentals together to at least an extent that I could form a coherent thought for a few minutes. I was given this captain's hat here, this Special Raiders captain's hat, because I am the tugboat, of course. I forget why they call me that. I'm short in stature, I pull more than my own weight, and I'm rarely far from my home port. They also call me Little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo because I am moist, doughy, and I crumble under pressure. They call me Stubby Cohiba for reasons better left unsaid. Let's say don't manscape with a Vitamix, especially when you're located in South Florida. They call me Tabasco Rojas, former Montreal Expos relief pitcher. They call me Hurricane Lopez. They call me Stock Karen. And they call me Danny Deals. I don't know what else they call me. They rarely call me late for dinner, guys, because I'm a big chunky monkey. But anyway, it is Un Poco Mas. Thank you for joining me. It's a very special weekend edition. Hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and you guys had a ton of turkey, got some napping in, did great in your fantasy football, went out on Black Friday or Chubby White Guy Saturday or whenever you chose to, and bought a bunch of shit you don't need, ran up the old credit cards, and basically the American way. Anyway, guys, hello and welcome, welcome and hello, hello and welcome, welcome and hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me. Let's talk about the 320-pound fat guy in the room. No, let's not do that. Let's talk about Iovance Biotherapeutics, ticker symbol, of course, IOVA. Now, this company is compelling for a lot of reasons, and it also gives you a lot of reasons to pause because the revenue ramp isn't as fast as we'd like. They're guiding for 250 to 300 million this year. They just reiterated that guidance at earnings. There's a lot of cash burn. You probably, their runway of 300 million. It all sounds scary, but when you really put the puzzle pieces together, everything is trending in the right direction with this company. Strong cost controls, huge increase in gross margins year on year. They've got this new CFO, putting the fear of God into everybody. She's kicking ass and taking names, and I think driving things in the right direction. But I think the thing that is so, fascinating about how the market prices these things, I mean, a lot of people talk about, the average in pharma companies is like 6x mature sales, and then could range anywhere from 3 to 16 or even 20 depending on the growth, the opportunity. But something like this with cures for cancer that could be best in class, it's very hard to price this because yes, they are burning cash, but how do you price the pipeline? In this case, like the market has just decided to price this pipeline at basically nothing because it's all a lot of this starts as one drug. This, that's already been approved for melanoma. This is, the pivotal, and they got approved in 2024 on an expedited basis. It was on the, trial of only 73 patients. And the thing that's interesting is they're already setting up a similar scenario with the lung cancer with the FDA, where they're supposedly only going to need 80 patients that'll complete enrollment next year, and then they're going to get, looks like they may very well get accelerated approval for that indication. And I'm not one to, spread a bunch of insane, propaganda. I'm not one of those big fat pumpers you'll find on YouTube, amongst other places. But not for nothing, guys. I 30x'd SMMT Summit Therapeutics. I saw the founder of the company, one of the founders of the company, this Robert Dugan, buy like $100 million open market buy at like 90 cents. And I didn't know anything about the company. I read about it. I knew they had a lung cancer drug that was, advancing trials in China. I ended up buying the stock around $1.10. I sold a lot of my shares in the high 20s. You can see that the stock was just down here at like, 80 cents, 60 cents in 2022. After that insider buy popped up as high as $5, but then rode, back down under $1 for a long, long time. Pummeled again until the middle of 2024 when the stock just started this meteoric rise. I think it's this huge data coming through in China, and then it rose up to $33 and spiked again to $36, hit $30 at least two more times. So this stock came from that $100 million insider buy at 90 cents to, hitting over 30. Then you can see it stabilized, finding some. Um, so my point is, this is lung cancer. The data look really good in China, look less promising elsewhere. They have a good partnership in China. I'm not saying this company is worth anywhere near, the $14 billion market cap. I'm just saying the opportunities with these cancer drugs that can look like they're completely down and out. Nobody wants anything to do with them. And then, just 2 short years later, the stock, 30, 35 X's. And again, not saying Iovance is going to do anything like that, but look at the chart, guys. This stock touched, this was a fake pump, touched $18. I'm just going to go over this chart with you briefly because I think it's fascinating how they work these things. This is just in March 2024. Okay, the stock touches $18 from this pump. You see massive volume coming in. Look at this blue line. Look how good this is way back here in 2023. You see the slope, makes the market right there. But that's neither here nor there. Look at this line. Okay, bounces off resistance at this line. I won't call this, but you could. The line looks pretty good coming all the way down. See how it's resistance here, 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 and then it kind of starts to break through here, and the same line becomes support here, which is, just a year ago, support again right here in November 2024, support again here in December 2024, here again, support. So this line is just rock solid. Support again in February. Fall, it makes this big dip. The line still holds. This finds support again critically. Finds after this big fall. And this is what you want to look for. This is when the stocks bottom out. And this is where the slope of that, huge walk down completely changes and gets much more horizontal, if you will. So it falls again, hits support. And this blue line, this black line is going to become the support. Eventually, the red line will become support, and this blue line coming across will become resistance. Hear me now, believe me later. Don't pay attention too much to this little tail. This thing is making a wedge. It's green on the pops. The right customers are accumulating. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Geode, Goldman Sachs, all loading the boat in Q3. Follow the smart money. The shorts are totally out of position. They're shorting 35% of the free float on this company, putting out incredible, lung cancer data that just blows away the standard of care, duration, response, everything else. But they're burning a lot of cash. They don't have a lot of cash. They only have $300 million. But the cost cutting measures they have in place and the savings, it's not like they're not making any revenues. I mean, they made like $70 million almost this last quarter. So as they continue to cut costs, they continue to increase revenues, and hope. They're not looking for deals right now, but they're certainly looking to expand the market. They're getting approval in Canada right now. They're looking at the EU. So there's just a lot going on, guys. There's a lot going on with this company. It's priced under $1 billion right now, I believe. They're targeting mature sales just in the United States of $1 billion a year just for the melanoma indication. And I mean, like 10,000 people die of melanoma just in the United States every year. The EU, I think it's like 22,000. Canada's another 2,000. So that's over 30,000 deaths right there. I mean, and this is a treatment that thus far has, worked in, heavily treated patients where absolutely nothing else, where it's basically this, they have no other option. The chemotherapy and Keytruda don't work nearly as long. It appears, every time there's more data on melanoma, they just turned in like, I think 5-year data from an old phase 2 study that they've been following through, and the data was even better. I mean, I hope I'm remembering that right, because I read everything about this company, but my mind is a big hodgepodge of stupidity and, various learning disabilities. But no, I try to put it together, but trust me, guys, this thing couldn't fall any further. They couldn't knock it down any further before $1.64. All the right buyers are coming in. All the right buyers are doubling down in Q3. Where is Q3? Q3 starts right here in July, and Q3 runs up through here to the beginning of October. So it's right in this holding pattern. There's a pump and dump in there. They're trying to work retail out of the shares as low as they possibly can. They want you to sell the dip and smell the rip because you're weak, stupid, broke, and you have a tiny wang. Okay? There's no shame in your game. Buy the lows with your tiny wang. Don't let it hold you back. You don't have to sell the lows. Stop buying at 17 and selling at $1.65. It's not that complicated. And you think, well, the big boys are just bailing out. It's in free fall. It's a walk down. Remember Billy Zane in the film Zoolander? It's a walk-off. It's a walk-off. This is a scam. Some of these stocks are scams. Okay? They walk this thing down. They accumulate. The shorts are the longs. The call comes from inside the house. And they just want you to pucker up, Buttercup. They want you to lose patience and sell the lows. Because that's how they make all the money. Who do you think is in this stock, guys? Do we cheat them and how? The great law firm? No, it's the biggest players in the... Okay, institutional ownership has dipped just a little bit over the last several months. But that's not to be unexpected because there's a lot of weak hands in terms of institutions as well. But look who the key players are, guys. Look what they did in Q3 while this thing was trudging along down at the lows, when it just couldn't get a market, when it just couldn't catch a break. And why are they holding this thing at 250? What's so special? There's not enough calls to hold it. They're accumulating. Look what happens in Q3, guys. Just don't believe me. Believe the SEC filings. I'm not making anything up. I'm giving you the data. Okay, MHR Fund, the leading shareholder, they just reported on the 14th of this month. No change. Okay, 29 million shares. BlackRock, again, filed this month, increased their shares by 12% to 26 million. Vanguard did decrease 4% again to 24 million, but I would argue that's a relatively minor decrease considering how much the price fell. Look at State Street, very important in trading, third or fourth in profits they make trading behind Vanguard and the aforementioned BlackRock. So they increased their stake by 35% in the third quarter and their average price is $12.20. Vanguard's $12.09. BlackRock is $9. So they've been buying the stock a long time. I don't know who this Invernomic. I've heard of them. I keep seeing them, but I don't know that much about them. They're much more new to the party. Much, you could say a lot better entry point at 388. They increased again. So all the big players are increasing. Long Focus Capital Management decreased. You guys know Palo Alto. They increased by 122%. Geode, who's right top 5 again, increased by 11%. Goldman Sachs, guys. Goldman Sachs, average cost $8.28. They just filed. This filing is less than 2 weeks old, or it's about 2 weeks old. They increased by 40%, 6.5 million shares. Look at what the mega banks are doing. Bank of America increased by 55%. They have 6.2 million shares, 429 average cost. Morgan Fudley, small decrease, 13%. I hate Morgan Fudley. I can't stand those bastards, but that's just me. I think they're always saying one thing and doing another. They give terrible ratings on stocks they're accumulating, and I just fucking can't stand those guys. So fuck them. And if you do business with Morgan Stanley, fuck you too. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I don't care what you do. Citadel, you guys know Citadel. They're the big badasses of the short industry. They decreased by 7%. Their long position is coming in from 528. So they might have got a little bit irresponsible there. Susquehanna, another big muscular short, big muscular. We're lifting, ma. We're men. We take our pants down. That's what we do. Susquehanna, they got an average cost of 635, and they increased their position by 60 million shares. Now, in fairness, they're probably short long. Two Sigma decreasing. I like to follow them too, but you guys get the idea. Old Chucky Schwab increased by 31%. Northern Trust, 16%. This Vanguard small cap was a big decrease. So that was they probably sold because it broke below a certain threshold. But anyway, you can see the filings don't lie, guys. All the biggest, most powerful market makers were increasing their share. Now, you could argue, okay, they're not increasing their allocation because, the price has fallen so hard. They're averaging down. You can call it whatever you want. But the bottom line is, if they lost faith in the stock and they thought the stock was going to go bankrupt, they wouldn't be buying, these massive new additions to their position. Now, would they? Maybe they would, but I don't think so. Now, in terms of the short, this is the official report. Just came out on 24 November for settlement 13 November. Shares short 115 million. That's an increase over the previous report of 21%. This has them shorting 34% of the free float. Now, that was back on 13th of November. There's been a bunch of trading days where they're just shorting the living piss out of the stock. Just taking a piss hammer to the thing. Just beating it about the face, breast, head, neck, and chest with a big rubber mallet. Getting silly. Silly, I tell you. Silly. So short interest Ortex has it at 35%. I think that's underestimating the short considerably. They have been bludgeoning this stock below 250. I don't think any retail's losing conviction based on the data that they're seeing or based on the trajectory of the financials that they're seeing. What do you guys have your head up your ass? You spreading both cheeks with a shoehorn? What's wrong with you people dumping down here below $2? Just because these shorts, got their tiny wings of, like, Dad, should we drive the price down? Yeah, drive the price down, son. Sounds like when, Howard Stern used to do his Steven Spielberg impression. A lot of people thought that impression was racist. It's like his black son. I don't know the whole deal, but I found it humorous. So I copy most of my characters from others. Who the hell's this? The great Michael Anthony K5R. The hell are you talking about? You're making all kinds of comments. All right, guys. I was told there would be no math. Now you're making me read comments. I just realized this is not a touch screen. I forgot I'm at home, not the office. Anyway, massive short. I think the short right now is probably 40% of the free float. That's just my women's intuition. I'm looking at the price action. I'm looking at my, I was going to say tiny wang. I meant to say your tiny wang. Perhaps a bit of a Freudian slip. Perhaps not, but anyway, I'm gonna try to read all those comments, but I'm like so ADHD that I want to actually get through what I was trying to say, which was probably a bunch of nonsense anyway. But this thing's making a wedge. I want to go over some, highlights from the last ER, which because I think a lot of this gets lost in the shuffle. Everybody's like, okay, it's disappointing. They're only, look at the overall trajectory. Listen to interim CEO Frederick Voigt or Vaught or however the fuck you say that. He puts this in air quotes. Continued progress to increase revenue and margins, advance our pipelines, reduce expenses, and improve operational execution. Now, who doesn't love a good soundbite like that? He highlighted the third quarter revenue grew 13% over the prior quarter. This is the key thing. Gross margin improved to 43%. It had been like 21%. It's a monumental move in the right direction, that change in gross margin, without a huge increase in revenue, mind you. It's not just due to scale. It's actually due to improvements, optimizations in execution and how they run the company. So that's really important that they're making those types of improvements and brought in and empowered a CFO to do what needed to be done. And, they're also bringing manufacturing completely in-house by first half of 2026, which is, again, it's going to lead to a lot of savings for the company, continued improvements in gross margins. Very, very important what this company is doing now. They're laying the foundation to increase sales to that, $1 billion domestically, bigger opportunity worldwide, and even bigger opportunity with other cancers. Because melanoma, while it's a fairly decent sized market, it's absolutely nothing compared to lung cancer. And that's why SMMT gets that, got that massive valuation pop, and why a lot of people think, they're a buyout candidate, or they just got a big, I know they just got a big partnership in China. I don't follow the company as much because I did sell most of my shares. So I tend to pump the companies I'm trying to pump and not the companies I already pumped that depumped and then are slumping for a repump, if that makes any sense. So Vaught announced the centralization of manufacturing at Iovance's internal facility, stating more improvements are coming, including today's announcement of our centralization of manufacturing at our internal manufacturing facility. He also emphasized our highest priority is to accelerate revenue growth to increase AMTAGVI adoption across our network of academic and community authorized treatment centers, or ATCs. And I don't have to read you this whole article. You can read it, for yourself. You guys probably already know everything, in here. If you're following this company, we're on track to achieve the 250 to 300 full year. We already know that. So the CFO, Corleen Roche, the total product revenue, this Corleen Roche is really kicking ass. So total product revenue increased 13%. Quarter on quarter to $68 million. This included AMTAGVI sales $58 million, Proleukin revenue of $10 million. Roche highlighted reduced total costs and expenses by approximately 10% over the prior quarter, excluding the restructuring charges of $5 million. So listen to the trends, guys. You're increasing revenue 13% quarter on quarter while decreasing costs and expenses by 10% quarter on quarter. That's incredibly, good trends in both directions. So gross margin will improve over time as we accrue benefits from a recent restructuring, implement additional cost savings initiative, centralize manufacturing in our internal facility. Chief Commercial Officer Daniel Kirby stated, our ultimate goal is to establish AMTAGVI as the preferred option for all eligible patients. Kirby outlined growth drivers, stressing the importance of new ATCs, community market penetration, and earlier treatment with AMTAGVI. Chief Operating Officer Igor Belinsky, he's the guy who invented that, I don't know what it is, the champagne they drop in caviar. It's a little pancake full of eggs and cream cheese or something. I don't know. I think I'm thinking of a Bellini, but I'm not sure. Anyway, we are finalizing our expansion, our internal facility, the Iovance Cell Therapy Center, ICTC, that will enable us to support anticipated demand without need for contract manufacture. All AMTAGVI and clinical manufacturing will transition to ICTC in early 2026. So this is right around the corner. Chief Financial Officer medical officer, Friedrich Graf Friedenstein, reported interim data from the LUN 202 clinical trial showing an objective response rate was an impressive 26%. An objective response, was observed in 10 out of 39 patients, which included 2 complete responses. Median duration of response was not reached at more than 25 months follow-up, which is unprecedented durability for non-small cell lung cancer therapy in the post-chemo and immune checkpoint inhibitor setting. Management reiterated revenue guidance. We already talked about that. We continue to project Antavi peak sales will be more than $1 billion in the U.S. That just those domestic sales, the company should be worth at least, I would say, $3 billion today. It's just my opinion, but what do I know? Not much. A strong fourth quarter for Amtagvi alongside increasing Proleukin sales we saw in late 2024. We expect to quickly complete enrollment in the LUN 202 registrational trial in 2026 with approximately 80 patients. This sample size will support an accelerated approval given the unmet need in non-small cell lung cancer. Financial results, the total product revenue increased 13%. We already went over that. Company reduced costs. We already went over that. And lowered the cost of sales by approximately 21%, resulting in that improved gross margin of approximately 43%. Cash position $370 million. So they're saying they can go through 2027. I don't believe that for a minute. Lin Tsai, this question is really important. Asked if efficacy in lung cancer trials expected to remain robust and the sample size grows. We don't expect any degradation in the efficacy signal. We're getting very good within the LUN 202 trial at making sure our investigators identify the right patients for the trial. Ugh. Sorry, guys. It's not easy for a fat guy to talk that much. Completely lose our breath. Eating too much delicious Thanksgiving food. Not got enough workouts in. I don't know what you should do, E.T. Val. Have you heard the phrase NFAFEPO, bitches? NFAFEPO. Not financial advice for entertainment purposes only. NFAFEPO. That means you guys can't sue me. Yes, bye. No, I don't know. You have to have a lot of risk tolerance, guys, to buy any of these penny stocks. A lot of these things go to zero, and that's just the fact of the matter and the matter of the fact, and I can't do anything about it. There's mismanagement, there's challenges, but guys, this is for real. These are heavily treated patients with no other options. And this cure for melanoma, read the data that just came out from their phase 2 study on the 5-year follow-on. It's fucking extraordinary. And these fucking tiny wing vulture bastard vampires are trying to short this stock to death. And these guys are out here curing people with no hope. I know it's just financial, but fuck these guys. I can't stand some of these vampires. Just absolutely sucking the life out of the markets. This is a company that should be able to raise money at good prices. And the fact that the stock has been so suppressed and walked down, beaten up and, maligned and mistreated and disrespected and degraded and fucked with and fucked over and beat up and bent over a barrel for repeated guided tours of the 50 fucking states on a stinky Greyhound bus to nowhere. Fuck these guys. I said it. Fuck them. Anyway, I'm getting overexcited. It's just stocks, guys. But I just hate some of these shorts and all their bullshit. Oh, this company's terrible. They're developing completely novel cures for cancer. What a bunch of bastards. Let's short it. Yeah, Dad, let's short the stock. What do you think? Yeah, son, short it. Should we drive the price back down below 250, Dad? Yeah, son, drive it down. Getting a semi, shorting the stock. Ugh. Tiny wing bastards. Anyway, let's go over some of these questions. I have more questions than answers, believe it or not. So we went over the efficacy. Queried Yanan Ju from Wells Fargo queried about FDA interactions. Wells Fargo was loading the boat too. I think I forgot to talk about that one. They increased their shares, I think 60% or whatever it was. Queried about FDA interactions, sample size for lung cancer, following about Antagvi infusion growth and gross margin improvements. Voice said, we've engaged heavily with the FDA on LUN 202 trial and gotten guidance from the feedback on trial design. We think 80 patients will be sufficient based on the precedent of Antagvi for 73 patients, Kirby God, I can't even talk. Kirby said, let me just slow down. Let me take it down like Stainer. Kirby said, we expect continued growth in the fourth quarter and beyond into 2026, Roche noted. The dollars that are written off from out of specs since the beginning of the year, they have decreased by 40%, about 9 million. That's the stuff that they produce. You guys know how this works. They're taking, the body's natural immuno response and they're multiplying it. It has to be manufactured, though, in this lab. So they've been throwing away $9 million worth that's out of spec. That number keeps coming down and down and down. They reiterated the guidance. We already asked about that. Asked about Intagvi patient numbers, facility maintenance impact. We're not talking about infusions anymore. We're just going to use revenue going forward. We will boost manufacturing capacity immediately and prior to this ICTC maintenance that will provide additional manufacturing slots for patients. Zhao Xuan Dai, UBS, asked about community ATC ramp, margin improvement, trajectory, blend scatter. First community centers starting to treat now. The newer ones coming on with the volume will start slow, but then will ramp up. Gross margin will continue to improve. It's about gross margin, improvement. So everywhere the company is completely focused on lowering costs and improving margins. It's exactly what investors want to see. We have seen a lot of dilution, though. Share count is up 19% year on year, which is no fucking good. Stop diluting me. Okay, you don't put baby in a corner. You don't put Danny in the little dilution box, wearing a little dilution dunce hat. Hey, we got this fat guy out here buying shares hand over fist. Let's dilute the hell out of him. Kick him right in the balls and send him home with no supper. Fuck you guys. The capacity with community centers or hospitals, they do have the bed space comparable to the comparable. How dare I say comparable instead of comparable? What an idiot. What am I, illiterate? To the academics, Renji Benjamin from Citizen JMP asked about global expansion enrollment progress. We're not thinking right now really about partner. What an awkward sentence. Interim CEO Vought. What is it, John Vought? We're not thinking right now really about partnership in 2026. I don't expect a significant amount of revenue from those markets. However, we'll start to see that business grow. International expansion takes a long time. They got to focus on the domestic market, get profitable, get this thing rolling, get the other indications going. Lung cancer, they're also working on cervical cancer, many other, I think about 4 or 5 other cancers are already in phase 2 trials for us. It's, check it out on their website. In the lung study, we've now reached this point where we have the data set, has the size and the quality in the data. They're driving investigator engagement. So people see the results and they want to be part of the trials. They want to be part of they want their patients on this treatment, basically, because these patients have very little, hope otherwise. So analyst sentiment, quarter-over-quarter comparison, we talked about a lot of this, guidance, we talked about a lot of it, risks and concerns, management identified need to accelerate adoption. That's pretty obvious with any ramp. Roche noted ongoing efforts to improve gross margin. That could fail, obviously, but it seems like they're really on the right track. Acknowledge internal expansion as a near-term revenue driver and significant contributions as the new markets are not expected. So, they're not going to be driving much revenue from international markets until at least 2027. So that's just the way it is. We'd love to see that come online faster, but that just takes time. Analysts press for clarity on revenue growth, stability, margin improvement trajectory, and the regulatory path for new indications. Final takeaway, Iovance Biotherapeutics highlighted robust third quarter revenue growth, significant margin improvement, and disciplined expense management while advancing its pipeline and preparing for a major shift to internal manufacturing. Management reaffirmed annual revenue guidance and projected Intagvi U.S. peak sales of over $1 billion with expanded opportunities in lung cancer and international markets. The company emphasized operational execution and confidence in achieving key milestones supported by strong demand trends and positive clinical data. So there you have it, guys. There you have it. I'm shocked there's anyone still watching this show. What a bunch of losers. SMCI I think is I know this sounds crazy. I mean, especially at these levels. I think SMCI really doesn't have that much risk. Those sales are there. Those sales are done and dusted for next quarter. They're going to absolutely blow guidance out of the water, and that stock is going to go back up. It's a scam, I'm telling you. This volatility bouncing between 25 and 60 every other day, that's not because the company changes a bunch every other day. It's mechanics moving the stock to get you to shit your pants and dump at the lows. Because again, I'm not talking about lows like, Home Depot. Why do you think they scare us so bad on these stocks? Well, oh, no, it's fine. Let's all buy again at the top. Oh, then all these authors and markup make, oh, it's not so risky. Now it's at the bottom. Oh, it's horribly risky because they want you to dump. Ugh. So stupid. SMCI is so easy to make money. I made so much money on that stock. And people are like, oh, you were so wrong about it. Was I? My account would tell you otherwise. Yes, sack of turds. Yeah, big dumb bag of hammers. All right. Before I get excited, before I start rambling on, I know this video was only going to be a 10-minute, but it's been 35 minutes. Go figure. What else was I going to talk about? I don't know. Not much. So anyway, yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff I could talk about, but it's just the valuation here is just too low. I mean, you're really giving nothing for the pipeline. You're giving a valuation of like 3x this year's sales, and that's it. And I know that might seem appropriate because there's execution risk in the ramp, there's regulatory risks. I think the FDA is very friendly because of what they're trying to do and the results they're achieving. The level of unmet need for these cancer patients that have been heavily treated, very few, if any, alternatives, really no alternatives, because if the alternatives worked, they wouldn't be. This only has approval for like post certain treatment. It's not approved for a frontline melanoma treatment, I think, at this point, but it could certainly get there with melanoma and other cancers. I mean, it's not just this is some cancer stats I was just taking a look at, but estimated in new cases 2025 105,000 cases, 2025 8,400 deaths. So it's a lot of patients that don't get that 5-year survival rate. And there's a lot of opportunity in melanoma, but there's obviously way more opportunity in some of these other cancers that they're working on. So this is endometrial cancer. I'm not sure how prevalent that is, but they're also working on cervical cancer, which I know is very, very common. You know, and that's another. They have 2 trials going there. They're already pivotal in a phase 3 trial with cervical cancer, post chemo, and post anti PD-1. So these are, again, patients that have no alternative with cervical cancer. And I think, just my opinion, the data is going to be really good there because it works the same way on any of these tumors and any of these cancers, and the science is sound. I mean, even the bears that I've seen that don't like this company, you don't see a lot of coverage on it from the U-turd community because most U-turders are here to make money. So they're not going to do a video on a stock that nobody's interested in. I'm here to make money on the stock. I don't make any money on my channel because I have a nothing burger channel and nobody watches it and it's not monetized. So I don't make a penny off it, and I don't try to sell anybody anything or anything. I don't never ask anyone who watches my videos for a penny ever, for any reason, and I never will. I might try to sell you some swag or some shit, or I might get a sponsor if anybody wanted to sponsor me. I'm available. Hello. I can. I don't know what keeps happening. I think I have a shitty internet connection. But it's not just cervical cancer. It's not just melanoma. It's other cancers they're looking at. And you guys who know more than me can, it's the critical one is the lung cancer to me. They have, 3 phase 2 trials going on in combination. They have a phase 3 trial. They're just, negotiating with the FDA. They're going to start on in 2026. They have another one in phase 2. They have 2 trials in phase 2 with Pembro and IPI Nivo. They have another study in phase 2 for PD-1 selected TIL. So it's not just the lifileucel. They have another candidate down here, 145, 2001, 4001, 3001. So, and a lot of these are in. Look how many phase 2 trials they have going on. I mean, literally, I know some of them seem a bit, duplicative, if that's a word. I think it is. But, I mean, they literally are in over 10 phase 2 trials. I mean, maybe 12. So, and that pipeline is valued at nothing beyond melanoma, which is already FDA approved. And they're like, oh, it burns cash. Dude, burn these nuts. Okay? That's a bullshit argument. The ramp is going to happen. These people are dying without this. It's just getting it out. It takes time. There are growing pains. There are speed bumps. And a big speed bump is they can't raise money because the stock's being shorted into the ground by people with tiny wangs and big bankrolls. And, a lot of issues from their frat days. They got beat on their bare buttocks with a paddle by a, big bro named Bubba. And now they're shorting stocks like these to compensate for the emotional wounds. It's not these patients' fault what happened in the basement of your frat house. I don't know. I just imagine a lot of these shorts, like these finance guys, not that smart. Just daddy hooked them up with a job. Grandpa Warbucks. Out the frat. Bunch of fucking USC guys. Just laughing around with their fucking gray hair and their fancy shoes. Let's short this stock, These fucking fat retail guys can't do anything about it. Oh, fuck you. Fuck USC. Fucking Trojans. Fuck you guys. Think you're better than me? UC for life. Anyway. I didn't like USC before, but I really don't like them. Anyway. Sakes are still sporadic, right? Are you referring to the fact that they call me Danny Shakes? If you have to ask why, you're entitled to a full refund. Danny Shakes. Are you referring to the fact that they call me DJ Patchy Drizzle? Are you referring to the fact that they call me MC Al Dente? Because if you are, I appreciate that. If it wants to hire me as a DJ, I'm available. Octogenarian above birthday parties, going out of business sales, funerals, wakes, remembrances. Definitely don't get the party started, but we can definitely end it at a reasonable hour. Get everybody home safe. Make sure nobody gets pregnant. That's DJ Patchy Drizzle. Nobody's getting laid on our watch. We will not DJ any parties where there's any alcohol, drug use, slow dancing, fast dancing, conversing, cavorting, kibitzing, caboodling, any of the above. You guys like this Raider captain's hat? Where's Rolling Dubs when you need? AGL? Why not? Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I'll add it to my list. Let's see, guys. I'm going to run over these comments. If you want to tune out, please tune out. I know it's been a long show. It's been a long, trying show, but I just want to read over the comments really quick. Emilio Aglieri, the great Emilio. Have you lost your mind, sir? That ship has sailed, Emilio. Yes. I lost my mind at a very young age. I've been to every lost and found on the West Coast, and nobody has it. So, yes, my mind is still lost. I am still crazy. Certainly I'm not getting less crazy as I get older. I'm getting more crazy, I think. Let's Poco indeed. DVD, Big Wing, Little Pecker. You guys, what's it? The great Bobby Joe. Happy Thanksgiving, Bobby Joe. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Yeah, sorry, the volume's a little low. I don't have a good mic here, guys, and it's a little bit off to the side, so I'm trying to, lean into it a little bit. Sorry about that. Thank you very much, Scott2412. In fact, I'm going to pick up this mic as I read these comments, so it just maybe sounds a little bit better. Don de la Vega, are you Zoro's father? I don't know, white sensation. I'm just a fat tennis ninja. I'm a fat white guy. What are you going to do? Oh my God, I'm so sick of white people just complaining about everything. I can't believe I had to stand in line for my Christmas tree. Oh, can you look at the interest rates? Shut the fuck up. White people do nothing but complain. I mean, I don't have anything against white people, because I am a big fat white person, so. And I'm probably the biggest Karen in the world, but I'm just tired of everybody complaining about everything, especially people who have it the best. I don't know. I'm just a big jerk. DLO, strong fundamentals, November 12, upgrades 15, upgrade to 19. Guys, Michael Anthony, I take your point and I'll look at it. It doesn't matter to me about upgrades. It matters to me about who upgrades and why. People throw out crazy upgrades on these small stocks. That some of them are connected to reality and some of them are just connected to bullshit that their firm wants to trade on. So drug could be at 50, other hospitals, flying times of money. I think it was okay. I will definitely take a look at it. You got a lot of ideas, Michael Anthony. I like it. You should have a channel. And I love is that I think that's Bobby Hill in your avatar, who's also one of my favorites. I wouldn't swear about it. In the Order of the Flame, I believe. On ABEO that I'm holding, waiting for better news next 30 days. Okay. I'm holding lots of shares, DLOs, lots of market upside. You're basically pitching a lot of penny stocks, Michael. DLO reported earning 3 quarters that it was covered revenues, earnings 46 million already. This compared to 2024. Okay, I'll look at them. Sell SMCI for if those are your only options, no, I wouldn't do that. I think SMCI has much more almost guaranteed upside with the next ER than IOVA. I think IOVA is a longer term hold. I wouldn't necessarily sell SMCI for IOVA. I already said, yeah, it could be. 50% drawdown SMCI. I know. SMCI has gone down a lot. I get that. It went down from 50 to 17 almost overnight. Wall Street wants you to shit your pants. They're like, oh my God, it went down 50. What if the stock's at 100 in less than a year? I think if they get anywhere, if they hit that 36 billion, which they're saying is a floor on sales, okay, even if margins don't go up on SMCI and your sales go from 22 to 36 billion, your EPS is still going to be much higher. Even with the fact that this company is expanding at the rate there are, building factories and campuses and all kinds of bullshit and, vineyards, and Aunt Sarah's out there boxing exactas at the ponies every day, just, betting on horses. Uncle Chucky's cutting down endangered trees to drink good wine. Don't be afraid of price action. That's what they want. They want you to go, oh my God, the stock got cut in half. It must be terrible. No, mechanics drove that price down. That wasn't all retail just dumping. Now, some of it was, sure. I wouldn't, selling SMCI in the low 30s at a market cap below last year's sales is stupid, in my opinion. NFAFEPO. And I know if your account's way down, you got hurt on the stock, I'm sorry about it. I mean, you got to learn to play calls. You got to learn ladders. You got to learn how to make money on runs, and not get killed on pullback. Now, I don't care that my SMCI shares went down because I made so much money on calls. I'm not just playing with house money. I'm way beyond that. So, but I'm still going to hold my shares long term. I was buying the hell out of SMCX at these lows just a couple dollars ago. So I love SMCI at these levels. I think it's one of the most undervalued stocks you could ever imagine. I mean, imagine a stock growing their top line 50, 60% this year. They're going to grow, even analysts, okay, low side 33 billion. That's still 50% increase over the 22. 50% top line growth. And they're like, oh, this is terrible. And the company's telling you I'm probably going to be more like 70%. Uncle Chucky's like, hold my beer, fruitcake. I don't know. I love SMCI. I love the stock at these levels. I will buy all the SMCX I possibly can. I'm buying calls for after the next ER. I'm buying calls for after the second ER. I'm buying calls. I'm buying shares. I'm buying levered shares. I think these orders are very real. I think the delay, I think it happened just like Uncle Chuck. I think Uncle Chucky's honest. Maybe the Wigger, maybe there's some question marks surrounding the Wigger. But if they hit these numbers, the projects are real. They hire a new high-profile CFO who's beyond reproach, and so you can trust the numbers. They probably could regain, a big three auditor. Not that there's anything wrong with BDO, just they're shady as fuck, allegedly. But this wasn't all going to be about SMCI. It's supposed to be about IOVA, so... But anyway, I hate to be so defensive about the company. I know I recommended people buy it, and some of you guys bought it high and got hurt. And, I'm sorry about that, but got to watch your entry points because the stock's been so low so many times. And I gave so many warnings. Like, should I buy after they gave this warning on guidance? I said, no, it's going to fall way more at earnings. I told you that. So if you didn't sell then and you were surprised, I knew that you should have known that was going to happen. Didn't matter if they warned and it already fell. Fuck that. That's not how the market works. The market punishes bad news. It doesn't care if it already knows. It punishes it again and a third time. SMCI is pretty heavily shorted stock in its own right. It's not going to short squeeze or anything. There's way too much, way too many shares available, way too cheap. They could definitely put the brakes on, but it could definitely increase buying pressure at a critical moment if they announce something silly. I mean, everybody's speculating on a deal with Google. Don't know that that's going to happen. But Google likes to take shortcuts, It's not as easy as you think to build what SMCI builds. I know people think it's so easy. It's just a box. It's just a, white label, rebrand, whatever. That's not really what they do. There is some unique aspects to their products, especially these building block solutions. They'll think, oh, they can just duplicate this in a year or something. I don't think so. I think it would take many, many years to catch up to the technology that SMCI has, even for someone like Google. Unless they partner with somebody else, like an HP or whatever. Dell. Michael Dell. Kramer always... Oh, I just would buy Dell. I love Dell. Michael Dell. He gives so much money to charity. I love him. Fuck you. Anyway. Yeah, ET Val. I can't exactly tell you what to do. But this has so much potential upside, whether it be a buyout, whether it be data, whether it be a partnership. I mean, if they just release some, huge new data on, cervical cancer, a huge, data for lung cancer is not going to come again. They just released incredible data. I mean, it got a pop, but it was not sustained. I mean, they just pushed right back down. If you look at the chart, this wedge is legit, guys. I mean, I might be a bit of a wedgie, but this thing is consolidating for a move up. It's getting tighter and tighter. I mean, before this drop, then you had the pump. You had at least the stock moving, between $1.90 and $2.80. This is just getting tighter and tighter. The algo's locking on. Get this little fugaze push down to $1.75 with this last fall, pops back up to $2.30. It's just all over the place. Fixing the price, under $2.50, pushing down on calls for the weeklies, especially on, Thursday and Friday. They're always pushing down on this thing. I mean, that's why the short, you can see on the official reports what they've been doing. This was up as high as 35% in July, and then came all the way down, 24%, huge decrease, 21%. And then, that was in September, and then March back up to what I believe are now all-time highs. And I think they need 7-8 days to cover, if not 10 days to cover at these conventional volumes. Now, if you get huge volume, ton of buying pressure, you're shorting 40% of the free float on a stock where institutions own 60% of the free float. What do you think's going to happen? Where do you think this can move? I mean, if something crazy happens in terms of a catalyst, this can, quadruple very, very quickly. Very quickly. A lot of analysts think the stock is worth, 12, 15 right now. based on the data they're showing, based on FDA approval, based on the posture the FDA is taking regarding their, lung cancer program, following a very similar trajectory to their melanoma program, with the feedback they're getting from the FDA. I mean, the valuation is just, to me, disconnected from the pipeline, from the potential there. And people are like, well, there's a lot of risk because, there can be delays, the manufacturing. I think they're getting all that sorted out with their facility. Capacity is somewhat limited, but that can be, increased to accommodate demand. I mean, that's just a matter of money. So partnership, whatever, buyout, more favorable financing, but it's very difficult to raise money when your stock is being suppressed down below $2, and a market cap is just not favorable to you because institutional investors, as you saw, we were talking about earlier, institutional investors, Goldman, others, you just look at BlackRock, average cost $9, Vanguard 12, State Street 12, so they don't like to try to buy the bottom. They want to try to buy on the way back up. They want confirmation. They don't want to be fooling around with something that's going to be sitting at the bottom for years. They want to add there. So they'd rather pay a little bit more, but get an idea that the worst is over, I think. At least that's what that guy Paul O'Neill, who used to play for the Yankees, said. It's called Can Slim. That doesn't work for fat guys. You need the Tabasco method. Can Slim will work for you if you're up to about 180 pounds. After that, forget about Can Slim. Go on Slim Fast or something. Anyway, guys. Thanks, Chris. I will look at that one. I appreciate it. Chris Concert Corner. Jim Brewer. Let's Poco, Sumi, SoFi, 32. SoFi is going to go over 35 probably this next week. You heard it here first. Thanks, Billy Jack. Appreciate it, man. What's going on? The great Billy Jack, our man in Texarkana, our man pretty much everywhere. E.T. Vow, awesome, man. And I don't mean to make light of the paper losses. They hurt, and believe me, I still have SMCI shares, and they go up and down, and when they were at 60 and then they're at 30, it doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good. So, oh God, yeah, bag holding Neo, that's for sure. Not bag holding it too bad. Pretty close to even. Do I think the big dog have goons in the FDA? I mean, that's kind of a loaded question. The FDA is definitely not CIA level secret keeping. I know they're pretty good at, not, telegraph, because they understand the gravity on the public markets, insider trading. These are serious felonies. If you're, sharing information, you're going to get fired. You're going to be disgraced. Does it happen? I'm sure it does. I mean, this information is incredibly valuable. You see pump and dumps. You see moves that don't make any sense unless somebody knows something, or they're purporting to know something, or they're pretending to know something, or they're, whatever. So I don't know. I have no idea. But I assume the worst all the time. I assume everything's a conspiracy and that people have unfair advantages, and that's how they win. Because there are no rules. The only rules are if you get caught. If you don't get caught, there are no rules. So, I have a lot more than that in it. Again, NFAFEPO. Please do your own research, guys. These are very complicated issues. Cures. There are, pitfalls. There are risks. Anything with a lot of upside also comes with a lot of risk. And that is just, anybody who tells you otherwise is lying. Say, oh, this is a sure. That's why I say something like SoFi, it might be a little bit more on the boring side, but I think it's much more of a sure thing to grow into a huge company than any of these other fintechs, any of these AI companies, just because what they do is far more conventional. They're just doing it in an innovative, cost-effective, way. But it's a surface water analogy. So I love SoFi. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it'll 10x quickly because the ramp's going slow, but I think the buyout for this is lung cancer. The buyout will not be for melanoma. The buyout will be sort of for the overall potential on the larger market cancer. I mean, honestly, if you're a big pharma company, $1 billion in peak sales doesn't excite you that much. Now, with lung cancer, you're talking about many, many times that. And these other cancers, so, it's not that they wouldn't buy the company for melanoma, but there's so much more. Melanoma, I mean, to me, functions more like a proof of concept, and, it provides revenue while they get through all these other, 15 clinical trials that they're involved in right at the Mo. So, Chris Concert Corner, I'm thinking about cashing in my NMRA share with an average of 99 and picking up 10,000 shares. I'm up about 120%. I mean, I don't know that stock, but it just depends. I mean, go by what you think the stock is worth, versus the stock price. Don't go by what it just did in the past. Like, I'm not going to buy IOVA at 250 just because it came down from 17 or 12 or 5. I'm going to buy it because I think it's worth a lot more than 250. I don't care if it just came from 5 or it just came from 50 cents. I mean, that affects different things because of momentum, because of how institutions buy stocks and when they buy stocks, uptrends, downtrends, the fact that a lot of institutions won't buy a stock under $5, won't buy a stock under $10. I mean, that's really why I think they hold this thing down, is there's all kinds of other reasons that they want to make life difficult for these companies. They have some other trades. I don't think, they're necessarily thinking they're going to get rich shorting it from the twos, but it is what it is, guys. I've been talking for an hour. This has been absolutely ridiculous. But I wanted to talk a little bit of IOVA. I wanted to talk to you, my tiny wang friends out there on the internet. Thanks for watching, guys. I really, really appreciate it. It's un poco más, the show where we give you just a little bit more. I'm wearing my Little Raider captain's hat because I am the tugboat. I'm Little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo. Stubby Macanudo, Stubby Cohiba, Stock Karen, Hurricane Lopez, Danny Deals, DJ Patchy Drizzle, who else? MC Al Dente, for QT, for Princess J, the rest of the production staff here at our blessed little shack. We would like to thank you for watching. I'm going to research. Yeah, do some research, please, ET Val. Please, please, please. Don't listen to fat people on the internet. We say a lot of stuff, but we may or may not know anything. So please do your own research. I'd really appreciate it. Well, I mean, listen, lung cancer is one of the most deadly cancers. There's no good treatment options, past a certain point. If this shows that type of promise, where it's magnitudes better than the standard of care, or significantly better than the standard of care, or they can use it in combination with Keytruda, the FDA wants to approve it, and the rollout is going to take care of itself. There's going to be far more clamoring and demand on the non-small cell lung cancer than there is on melanoma, just because the magnitudes of the cases. I don't know exactly how many lung cancer cases there are versus melanoma deaths, but it's huge, huge, huge difference. Orders of magnitude. So I don't know, guys. Research it, please. Do your own research, NFAFEPO and all that stuff. Guys, it's un poco más. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a great one. Have a great rest of your weekend. Don't drink and drive. Don't be an idiot. Get home safe, and hope you guys have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your night, and you're probably watching this tomorrow because this is a really stupid time to do a show. So happy Sunday. Enjoy your football, and we'll talk to you again on Monday. Un poco más. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.